finding models can be super easy. If you've got the cash, you're definitely going to be able to find someone pretty to pose for you. But finding really great people who also happen to make incredible models, not always so easy. And I'm talking about people who aren't necessarily interested in having a modeling career, but people who just want the experience of posing, of maybe being an artist muse, or they just enjoy getting in front of a camera every now and then. Lots of times, people you wouldn't expect just make incredible models, depending on the kind of photography you're doing. How do you go about finding these people? Well, having a good portfolio can go a long way. And what do I mean by good portfolio? I'm talking about presenting pictures that demonstrate what you really love to shoot. Pictures that show that you have fun doing this, and and they're good pictures that some people may not like, but other people will look at and say, wow, I really dig what this guy's doing. I want to be a part of this. I want to pose for this person. You know, if you just post up generic photos, then you might have a harder time attracting the right kind of people for this. Now, I've used Craigslist with great success. Now, I know there's a trend right now where a lot of models and photographers are getting together, like on Facebook groups. But again, we're talking about people who are in it to network, people who really, fancy themselves as models. They want that kind of a career. Maybe they're dipping their toe in it, but that's how they see themselves. I like to work with people who maybe see themselves in a different way, who really aren't interested in getting into that kind of a scene, but they just want this sort of artistic experience. They want to make art. They don't want to have a career in modeling. Right now I'm going to go through a shoot that I did almost a couple of years ago with Cassidy. Now, this is someone that I met on Craigslist in the very way that I just talked about. I just posted up an ad. I said, hey, this is what I want to do, and go ahead and take a look at my website, take a look at my portfolio. She did that. She liked it. She said, yes, I want to work with you. Let's do this. And then this first shoot is what came out of that. Now, we've worked together a few other times since then, but this is the first shoot. Like I said, it's been a while since this shoot actually happened. I thought it would be fun for me to go through these pictures with you and sort of give you my thoughts about how this shoot came together and what I think about the pictures after a couple of years have gone by. All right, let's start here. Now, if you've seen a few of these, you already know that I'm pretty honest and transparent about the shoots that I run through like this. I want you to get something out of it. I want you to learn something, and often what that means to me anyway is that I'm going to show you unfinished stuff and stuff that maybe I don't like so much. I want to show you the mistakes and the shortcomings as well as the stuff that I do like. So we'll start here with this first shot. Now, this is a shot that I did just after the usual mug shot, and that's where I have the model hold up her ID, and we take a picture of that, for legal purposes, just to show that she's of age and that she can sign a model release on her own. And so this is the first shot that we did, and as you can see, it is the colors aren't right. Now, just to step back for a second, the idea here was just very casual, very freestyle shoot. I didn't have anything in mind, and I do this a lot, especially the first time I work with someone. I want to keep the shoot very short, usually about an hour or so. And lots of times I like to work with natural light, maybe throw in a little flash here and there. But really, I just want to keep things just very natural and just kind of, again, like I always say, it's just more about emotion and story and things like that. I'm trying to find something usually when I do a shoot like this. I'm trying to find something. I don't always know what it is, but I usually find it along the way. And once we get there, sometimes I'm just blown away. And that happened very quickly with Cassidy. So let's start here with this first shot. Lots of times the first few pictures that I take, it's kind of a warm-up thing anyway. It's kind of like, okay, let me just point the camera at this person, click the shutter, and see what happens, see how they react to that moment. Lots of times that'll let me know whether or not I'm going to need to take more time or talk to them a little bit more before we really get on a roll. But let me just go ahead and color correct that. Just hit that with the white balance eyedropper, and you can see there's window light working for us here, but I mean, it's not a great picture. It's like a snapshot, but I mean, there's still something I like about it. But at that moment, it was like, okay, we took our first real shot. Let's keep going. And then bam, there was the next one. And right away, I could see there's something there. She connected with the camera almost right away. I don't know why this happens with some people, but it does. The camera loves this person, and I love when that happens. Really, nothing much changed here in the lighting, but you know, man, Lightroom. You put something in Lightroom, you're shooting in RAW, and you can mess around with the colors a lot. Let's just go back. I'm just going to reset this to what the picture actually looked like. This is going to make me look kind of bad because this picture, you know, this representation right here looks really good. But here we go. This is what it actually looked like before. See, not that great, right? But we go back to some of the adjustments I made in post, and it looks like I brought the shadows up a little bit, as you can see here. Let me just bring them back down so you can see what I'm talking about. So there we go. So it looks good in different ways. Who knows what I was thinking when I was actually originally editing this set of pictures. And just to let you know, what I usually do with shoots like this, after the shoot, I'm going to load this into the computer. I'm going to run through. I'm going to call out the ones that I don't like, and just work with the exposures that I do like, and then that way it just keeps the workload down. I mean, why work on a bunch of pictures that you're not even sure you're going to ever use? So we do that. So right after I bring it down to the selections that I like, I'll pick out a few that I think might make good, say, black and whites, or have one of my presets applied to them, and I'll do that, and I'll say, okay, well, this sequence of shots here, apply a preset to that, see what it looks like, and if I like it, I'll just batch apply it to that whole sequence. You'll see what I mean here. All right, so this was one set of adjustments I made to this shot, and it's just Cassidy right up against a white wall. There is a big window light coming through several feet from her to her left. So here's the next one. You know, everything about this is just really coming through. Let's go through a few more of these. And this is the same picture, but I have my Loma Park preset applied to it. So I'm going to show you what I mean here. Here's Loma Park, and here's Loma Park 2. Why do I call them Loma Park? I don't really remember. I put these presets together a while back. If you want to check them out, check out the Vendetta presets that I sell over on my website. I have a bunch of them here, and I used a few of them on Cassidy's shoot. And with these, I'm just basically asking her to just stand there, no expression, just look at the camera. Then at some point, I'll start experimenting with hands and other, moving other body parts, just changing poses out a little bit. And so here, I probably said, can you bring your hand up to your hair and just kind of move it out of the way? And so, just try to do that naturally. And so we go here. Now here, I had her sit down. And again, I just said, no real expression, just kind of serious. We want to project with the eyes, and although this looks like a really serious moment, we're having fun at this point. So she sat down, and we got a few of these. So I'm using one of my black and white presets here, but this will show you what the photo actually looked like. Again, I'm sort of giving away my little secrets here, but this is digital, and lots of times when I'm shooting digital, I'm going to show you some film shots I did at the same time. Just a second, just a sneak peek of those. But getting back to the idea of shooting digital. When I'm shooting digital, there's sort of this mindset that says, look, I'm going to have a lot of room to play with the pictures in post and to bring different things out of them that I'm not getting here. So when I think of camera raw as raw, okay? It is the raw material in which I'm working with sometimes. I know a lot of people say, look, you got to get it right in camera, and they're talking about everything. They're talking about color and cropping and just, all of the facets of exposure. And I think that that's a good idea sometimes, but it's not always necessary, especially when you're shooting really loose like I am here. And so this picture, basically one and the same. And I can show you how I'd take this and just kind of change it up a little bit. I'll just crop it in things around just a little bit. Bump that exposure up. And yeah, you have a pretty cool picture right there. And then hit it with that black and white, my platinum preset. And yeah, looks pretty cool. So let's take a look at some of the other ones in this sequence. Lightened up the shadows in some of these. This one isn't actually one of the choices, but I wanted to include it here to show you kind of the in-between. So I'm giving her direction here and I'm saying, okay, I want to start using your hands a little bit more and think a little more along the lines of sensual. So we get past this one and we go to this. Let me just crop it in a little bit. And I take the shot, I look at my camera preview, just kind of blown away because this isn't a person with a lot of modeling experience or anything, but look at this. And bam. So at this point, you know, she had brought some other outfits with her, so I said, hey, why don't you go ahead and put on that red dress now, and let's see what we can do with that a little closer to the window. So we're still working with window light here. All right, and this is the Vendetta Loma Park preset again. I'm just going to show you what the picture actually looked like out of the camera. So this is what I got out of the camera, and this is the Loma Park preset. All right, so at this point, the direction is, you know, to think about different things. So we're just looking for different emotions, mostly happy ones, as you can see here. She's looking out. We're on the 8th floor of my apartment when we lived on the Upper West Side in Manhattan. So she's, you know, she's looking at this building, she's looking at that building, she's thinking about different things that make her happy or make her sad. Not that all of these are winners, but I just wanted to show you that process. All right, so I'm pulling back a little bit, and you can tell by the look of this, what I'm doing here is I'm blowing out the backlight, bringing up the shadows, you know, here in the foreground. Let me just show you what that looks like with the shadows back down. All right, so pulling the shadows back up. This is something that you've seen me demonstrate in several of my videos where I underexpose the subject and then I bring up the shadows in post and get this sort of faded film effect, you might call it. Here's some good eye contact. And I explain to people who haven't really modeled like this before, I explain to them that what they do with their hands is actually, it's sending a signal to whoever's viewing the picture. It's like a psychological effect. The touching that you see is actually, it transfers in some way to the viewer. So it gives them a sense of touch. All right, so we have that, and you can see in the next frame, it's just a slight tilt to the head that just changes the mood of the shot. Same setup, but I've converted this one to black and white, and she's looking straight on. And then we're bringing the hands back up in the hair. A little more sensuality and a little bit of a coyness. And at that point, I was pretty happy with what we shot. And like I said, we did these digital photos, but in between, I was pulling out the big film camera, and we shot some film too. Now after this, I wanted to experiment with some flash just quickly and get some pictures that were a little more gritty. I like doing some gritty stuff too. And so we did this. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but that is not window light or just window light coming in from behind Cassidy here. That is an actual flash unit that I've placed on the floor. And I've got it just almost flaring into the camera. And so she's got these really bright highlights coming in from behind. There is some window light too, and you can see that in the reflection on the wood floor coming in from the top there. And the direction here was, look, these are just supposed to be really moody. You're not supposed to look happy in these shots. So let's just see what that looks like. I want these to look like movie stills. She was totally on board with it. She got it right away. And this is what we came up with. And this is us switching over to the couch now, and here I'm taking that flash. I'm just taking one bare flash and just moving it around in different spots. But I'm going for that very gritty, raw, sort of that amateur aesthetic look, that snapshot feel. And I wanted these to look a little claustrophobic. So yeah, there's definitely some intensity there. And here you can see I brought the flash down a little bit. So we've got underlighting, which I normally discourage the underlighting thing. But in this case, yeah, I wanted it to look dark like this. So we have a few other ones, some sharp angle flash coming in from one side. I think these are pretty nice too. They look best in black and white from what I could tell. Now we ended on these, we went back to the window, and I had bought this top at a secondhand store like a Goodwill or something like that. And I said, hey, let's just try this on. It's kind of got a hippie feel to it. I thought, let's try this on, and these are going to be happy pictures. We just did these kind of intense, gritty, sort of depressing shots, these cinematic looking things. Now I want to do something that's a little more happy and carefree. And so we did that, and I also went really loose on the exposure. I shot at a fairly slow shutter speed. And some of these look great in black and white. And it was really about dancing and moving around and just expressing happiness. I really like that one. See, all of your shots don't have to be sharp and perfectly composed and, everything just has to be perfect. They don't have to be that way. I love how this picture feels just the way it is. Same for this one. So you can tell that we're having a lot of fun. This is a great shot. I like this one. I just like that look. Again, sometimes you find people who are just a natural fit for your photography, for what you do. They're just great in front of the camera. Maybe it's that rapport thing. I mean, that goes a long way too. Just people who get along for whatever reason, and they connect and they know how to make these pictures work. And so we'll end it on this one. Again, not a perfect shot, not a perfect exposure. The composition's kind of strange. It's not in focus, it's a little blurry. We're shooting at 2.8 and a fairly slow shutter speed. But I like it a lot. All right, so now over to the film shots. And I wanted to make a point about this, and I think it's probably true across shoots with different models. There is a relationship that doesn't just exist between the model and the photographer at the moment of exposure. There's also a relationship that exists between the model and the actual camera, the gear that she sees in front of her. That's what she's looking into that lens. She's looking at that camera. And when you bring out a piece of gear that looks serious, or that it, in some way changes the game for the session. In this case, I was bringing out like this big Mamiya RZ67 Pro 2. This is a big camera. It's like the size of a shoebox, and it looks really serious, and it looks like something a lot of people have not seen before. And so you bring that out. I think that it elevates the shoot. Using a camera like that can change the whole dynamic of the shoot. The pace can certainly change, because when you're shooting with film, you're usually going to be shooting a lot slower than you do with digital. Not necessarily me. I shoot pretty slow even with a digital camera. I'm pretty deliberate about the shots that I take. When you're shooting with a camera like an RZ67 or any film camera that doesn't have an auto winder on it, there's manual winding involved. There's that click of the shutter. There's no preview picture. It's just a very different experience for everyone involved. And that might have something to do with what you see next. These pictures were all shot on film with the Mamiya RZ67. I believe I'm using a film called Ilford HP5 Plus. All right, here's the first one, and you can see this is the full frame shot. This hasn't been cropped, so you're seeing exactly how the picture was taken. So you'll recognize this setup. This was shot during that same sequence with the DSLR, that first sequence of shots up against the white wall. In between some of those shots, I brought out this Mamiya RZ67 and took a couple of frames here and there. All right, so this is that red dress. All right, so here I'm pulling way back. Now this isn't a mistake what you see here with the legs. I'll often ask people to do something a little awkward with their feet or with the angle of their legs, because just standing there just looks kind of, I don't know, boring or weird. And so we played that up a little bit. And then I asked her just to, from this position, I said, just go ahead and like get up on your tippy toes. Just see what that looks like. Yeah, it's a little strange, but it's playful. I really like it, and I like the lines here too. So we got in a little closer, and again, this is kind of, I'm intermixing the film shots with the digital shots here. This is film, and there's nothing like it. You can probably see by this, why I love film photography so much. We're friends. All right, and here are these floor shots again with the flash being at a really low angle on the floor. All right, and as you can see here, she's got a tank top on, and for the digital shots, she had that off. So these were obviously shot before the digital ones were. You can see very clearly that flash just lying on the floor over there. And then the last film exposure was over there on the couch when I was using the one flash to get those gritty pictures. All right, so there you have it. The best models aren't always models. The best exposures aren't always perfect. And the best camera isn't always digital, right? So I hope you had fun with this today. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you liked this video, go ahead and click that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe. Feel free to leave me some comments about all this. I know that once I bring film into the mix of really just any time I talk about film, I will get people coming in saying, hey man, film is dead. Why are you even talking about that? You know, just you've always got the detractors, but there's a lot of you out there who love film and a lot of you who don't really care one way or the other as long as the pictures are cool. Naturally, content is the most important thing, not so much the medium that you're recording the content on. I love shooting with film, I love shooting with digital, and sometimes, as you can see here, I will use both in the same shoot. Hey, that's about all I've got for you today. Again, thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you next time.